All right, welcome to lab number 12, where we're going to use some caching. So as previously, let's go over to Apigee, and then we should see all of our previous stuff preloaded here. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a ResponseCache policy for the get product by ID endpoint. So let's do that. Go to retail and develop, and then here get product by ID. And what we're going to do is just we're going to add response. I'll just call it the products cache. And add. Okay. So then we change the policy. It's over here. And so all we want to do is we want to cache the product. I'm just going to use the path suffix as a cache key, and I'm going to say that we want to cache for 10 minutes, right? And then making sure that we only do gets. All right, that should work. Then we should also put this onto the response side, right? So this is our request. We have our get product by ID over here. And now we put the same thing over here to the get product by ID response side. And now we select the existing policy, which was products cache. And then add. So this is how the products cache policy works. So you set the same policy both into the request and then into the response. It'll do the lookups and the populations automatically. All right. So let's save this revision. And then let's take a look at the LookupCache and PopulateCache policies. So if we need more control over how the caching works, we could use these. I'm going to do it with the get store by ID. Right, so it's somewhere here. Get store by ID. Cool. And we need to do this on the response side. So this side, response, get store by ID. Here we can see that we're looking up these addresses based on latitude and longitude. So let's add LookupCache here. And we call it lookup address. There we go. And then we take a look at the configuration. And basically what we want to get is the latitude and longitude. And then whatever that's the key in the cache, a combination of two fragments, latitude and longitude. And then if we have a cache hit, we assign the cache to the variable address. Okay. So then we need to also add the populate address part. So back over here, response, get stored line ID, and populate address. So the type is PopulateCache. And we only want to run this if there is no cache hit, if there's a cache miss, right? So we set up the condition from the LookupCache that we just created. So if there is no cache hit for the latitude and longitude, then this cache hit variable is going to be false. So then we populate the cache using this, this policy. All right, and then again, configure it. So we're creating a cache or using a cache resource called ResponseCache, and then there we're going to have the address as the value, and the key is going to be latitude and longitude. And in this case, the timeout is going to be 1 hour. All right. So now we just need to take a look at the order of things. So making sure that everything goes okay. So where are we? Here. With EV, we're extracting the latitude and longitude. And then we should have the lookup address, right? Over here. And then the populate address should be over here before we write it into the response. Okay? And if I remember correctly, this SC stuff already had the cache requirement in it. Well, maybe I'm just going to take a look at the flow. You can see it from here. There is get store by ID. Where are you? Here. Yeah. Okay. There isn't currently yet. So we should add these conditions, the same condition that we have over here, right? Basically this one, to all of the other flows that are in between here. So extract address should be conditional. And of course, the finding the Google geocode, so the service call out should be conditional. All right. So now we're extracting latitude and longitude from the request. We're looking up the address in the cache. If we didn't find it, then we go get it, extract the address from the response, and then we populate the cache and then add the address from the variable to the response. Whereas if we have it here in the cache, then we skip all these 3 steps and just add the address directly. This looks good. Let's save. And then deploy. And our environment isn't up yet, so I'm going to stop the recording for a while I'm waiting that the environment will be up. All right, the revision 2 with our changes has now been deployed, so we can take a look and test it. For testing, again, we need to connect to our virtual machine. that has all of the DNS and everything pre-configured. And then he also wants to set up a debug session. For this environment, so we can see what's going on. So in our instance, we need to get the API key first. Oops. And then we can try to get a product from the environment, right? So this is what I'm going to do. Oops. I'm going to get product dv361 blah, 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 from our environment. Okay, there we go. We get the information. And now this request should show up here in a debug session. There it is. And this is how it went. You can see here we're looking for the product in the cache itself. But then we actually go and do the request to the backend. We don't have a cache hit, but we are over here. What we're doing is we're now populating the cache with that value. Okay, so that's kind of what's happening here. All right. So what is most interesting, of course, is that what happens, or what does it look like when we do the same request again, right? So we're literally doing the same request again. We literally get the same response. But as you can see here already, the time it took was way less. And if we open up this request tree, you can see now that we never called the target, right? So that whole step is missing in between. All right, then we had our other cache where we did the lookup and PopulateCache, or we used the LookupCache and PopulateCache policies. And that was for the store address, right? So here I have a request that gets information about specific store. And we get back the address. Now if we take a look at the request here, so we can see the request comes in, it goes to the backend, and then we run the, or sorry, this is still in the in our proxy. So we're extracting latitude and longitude from the request. We're looking up if it's in the cache. It's not. So we do this long thing that goes over to Google geocode and gets back the address. And then we extract the address from that response. We populate the cache with the address, and then we add the address to the response object. All right, so that's what's happening here, 527 milliseconds. And now let's see if we do the same thing again. You should see a shorter request here. Okay. So what happens here is otherwise the same thing, right? But now in the proxy, we extract the latitude and longitude from the request. We look up the address and note that we're skipping over these three options because we had a cache hit. And then we're just adding the address to the response. So maybe not as dramatically shorter as we would have wanted, but there is some jitter in here as well. And then we still got the address, right? So it's still correct. Right. So this is what this lab was about. Thanks for listening, and see you in your next lab. Till then.